Welcome, everybody, to the Minions of the Zoo Tuesday edition. I'm your keeper, Skep, and with me I have Minions Blind Press,
Good evening, everybody.
Prospero,
Hello.
the Harry Channel,
Good evening.
Jenna,
Hola.
and our good friends and all around good guy, even though he loves Alabama, Irate Prostate.
What's up?
So anyway, welcome everybody to the Tuesday edition of Minions of the Zoo. This is it's a real pleasure to be here tonight, and with all the weird stuff that's going on in the world, I was just kind of counting my blessings today as I was looking over the what I call Brenda Farms, which is where we used to have a backyard. Now we have a garden, and it's like the biggest victory garden you've ever seen.
That's awesome.
We've got corn that's already a foot high, which is that's
awesome.
early for corn.
Yeah.
The peas are coming in, the beans are coming in, the cantaloupes are going absolutely hog wild, as are the watermelons, and the potatoes are doing what they're supposed to do this year. And so that is looking positive. So it's looking like, and the onions, peppers, and tomatoes are looking good. The only thing that seems to be disappointing so far is the blackberries, but blackberries are a vine weed that you can't stop once they get going. And I think once we get the vine established, that'll be going. So as I was looking over my farming acreage and thinking about all the work ahead of us and how much an ear of corn produced by this monstrosity costs. But that said, it is kind of cool that we're doing it ourselves. I got to thinking, man, what a blessed existence I live. You know, I get to hang out with my friends, putter around in the garden, grow. We really could. Brenda, Sonia, and I could easily survive on the food that we grow. Would just be a little bit more disciplined about putting it up.
Are you allowed to have chickens where you live or no?
It's one of those things where technically where we are in the county is not zoned agriculture. But there are people right down the street who have a full-on farm with cows and pigs and chickens and the whole thing. And I mean, this is 0.2 of a mile from my front door.
Wow.
So I get the feeling that if we wanted to, we could keep some chickens, and we don't have enough area for a hog or any other livestock. So we'd have to make do with chickens, but you can make do with chickens. And, the thing is, I just got the feeling that, on top of everything else, what a blessing this is. And how fortunate, how happy I am to be in the situation that I'm in. We don't have a lot of money or anything. We're not rich by any stretch of the imagination. Quite the contrary. We live month to month, but we still live in the greatest country in the world. I have my friends. We have family. We've got all the important shit down. I may not live in as nice a house as Alyssa Milano or that Megan the Stallion live in, but I think I live a happier life.
Oh, easily.
And I do know that I live a happy life, and I don't care about those people, save to use as a point of comparison. So anyway, I'm kind of counting my blessings today. There are a lot of reasons for that, and I thought I'd go around and just see how people were doing. Blind Press, do you have anything new to report? What's going on with you? Your life?
Oh my! Well, there's plenty going on. My youngest turns 4 tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Alex. Logan. I mean Logan.
Yeah.
Logan. I mean, God, I'm so senile. I'm such
And let's see. schooling continues to be an interesting endeavor. This morning, Alex's teacher refused to help the children spell firefighter.
Oh, for pity's sake.
Why?
Fucking
Wait,
kidding?
why? Why?
Oh, okay, so I've never heard this woman mention anything about sounding out a word all year. Okay? Until today. When she wanted the kids, they were doing something about workers in the community. And they were supposed to be writing down a list of, workers in the community, like firefighters, police officer, whatever. Right? So for the very first time I've heard this woman say anything about sounding out any word all year, she wants them to sound out firefighter. And doesn't mention the silent GH at all. She's just like, no, you sound it out.
Okay.
I'm like,
figure.
what the fuck is wrong? Wow, you can't even give them the GH? Like, really? You can't make them spell out fire, at least, and then give them fighter? Like, wow. That's the first time all year I've heard you say anything about sounding out anything. Because, like, seriously, all they do now is sight reading, like, sight words.
How is this teacher otherwise, other than this event?
She's okay. Like, I'd say middle of the road. She's not.
Maybe she's just having a bad day.
She's not a bad.
Maybe she's not batshit crazy.
She's not a bad teacher, but she's not an awesome teacher, if you know what I mean. She's just like yesterday.
Awesome people don't often become teachers. It's unfortunate, but the good teachers are rare. Most of them are like Jill Biden, mediocre minds that drift into something that people tell them they're excelling at something when actually they're not really doing it.
Yesterday, one of them, either the teacher or the educational assistant, was having a full-blown conversation on their, like, texting while they were on the Google Meet with the kids.
Okay.
Like, and the phone wasn't muted or anything, so
nice.
Like, I had and they have
Ding.
they have iPhones, right? So I knew what they were doing because I could hear ding, and then I heard the whoop from the sending text message, that very distinct whoop, and it was going ding whoop for 10 minutes, and I'm like, okay, you're supposed to be teaching. What are you doing?
Yeah, mute the goddamn phone at
least.
Like,
if you have to communicate with people, fine, but put the phone on mute. Like, Jesus Christ. So
I wonder if she got caught unaware, like she wasn't thinking about fight, might, sight, lesson plan on the silent GH and in the middle of words like that, and then ended up with a lesson plan on writing down helpers in the community that had a word in it that there's no way for the kids to sound out.
Yeah, I think you're really reaching there, Prospero.
Yeah, well, I'm
trying.
You're
really trying to give her the benefit of the doubt.
Give her the benefit of the doubt, which is and you don't sound out silent GHs.
No.
That's just an impossibility.
No,
you know what? It was so much easier before the feminist fucked up language, wasn't it?
Right.
Skep?
Absolutely.
We learned policeman, fireman.
Right.
It's a lot easier.
Fire non-binary.
So that's been happening.
All right. So that's been happening. So you've been fighting the battle at school.
But in other news, I entered myself into a Mortal Kombat tournament. So
she's talking about the game.
Yes,
ladies and gentlemen, this is not some kind of weird Vietnam thing.
Engaging in Mortal
Hunger
Kombat.
Games hasn't broken out in Ontario yet.
Okay,
no, not quite yet.
When I said that.
Yeah. No, I know, but we're just being silly.
Well, that should be fun. When is that? When is your tournament?
So the tournament's Monday May 3rd at 7 p.m. and I'm gonna be streaming it.
Oh, good. I was just going to ask. You should stream that, and that'll be some fun. So
I'm
everybody tune in.
probably gonna get my ass handed to me because it's
So?
my first
There's
tournament.
only
but-
ever one champion in those things. So everybody, all but one person, gets their ass handed to them. So you're just going to be in good company.
But I just wanted to, I wanted to do it because I wanted to say that I've played in a Mortal Kombat tournament.
Good for you. I think that's wonderful.
That's a good
I
enough
think-
reason, honey, right there.
I think that's marvelous. All right. Well, moving on around the dais here. Prospero, how was your day?
A bucket of suck, but other than
Oh,
that, it was
dear.
fun.
Oh, no.
It wasn't that bad. It was just technology issues getting on my nerves, and an update that lasted 400 years
Oh, God.
coming into the show. I started it at 10:30. At 11:15, I'm
Oh,
rubbing
you're
my
you're
fingers.
Apple, aren't you?
Oh, shit. Is there a Mac update?
Yeah, there's a Mac update, and mine go off automatically
Oh,
unless
no.
I intervene. Yeah, there's a Big Sur update.
Fuck.
I don't know if you're on Big Sur.
I am.
Oh, okay. Well,
Will my computer do that?
I mean, you can always put it off, I guess. But
Well, I have not had it on all day. I just don't want to do it in the middle of the stream.
yeah, I get a notification box,
Yeah.
and I usually, if I see it, it'll say it'll automatically update later tonight. Well, I've had the automatic update yeet me off an after chat, so I don't know exactly when it's scheduled for. So I decided I'll be smart and responsible and do it ahead of time. So what time did I get here? 11:20.
Yeah.
Yeah, haha. Yeah, that was fun. And then the power glitched on me when I was in a game competition.
Oh,
So
no.
how
Cost me
many
3
hours?
minutes of competition time.
How many hours did the update take? Seriously,
It took about 40 minutes.
40 minutes of update time. That's marvelous. That's really efficient.
Yeah,
That's
it,
about normal for me. Like,
Is it really?
it was longer than the last one. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I got spoiled. The last couple have been much quicker.
Oh,
Yeah.
not for me. For me, it's like an hour and a half.
Oh,
But my
shit.
MacBook is from 2017 or 2016, I think.
That could be it. I don't
So,
know. But my
it's
fan
not-
was running like a merry motherfucker, and I thought, oh God, no, please stop.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it was just things like that. But that power outage in the middle of the game competition irritated the hell out of me, because it's a stupid game that I play, but I'm playing with a team, and there are these bi-weekly competitions, and it was one of those power hiccups where the power went off long enough for the generators to cut in, and then it came back up, but the generators had to run the cooldown cycle, and of course the internet had to completely reset.
Yeah.
So it was stupid crap like
You
that.
need one of those uninterruptible
First world.
power supplies.
Yeah, that don't work, dear. Not when the Wi-Fi goes out, which it was going to do when the power.
It'll actually, if you plug the Wi-Fi into the UPS, it actually will work. It'll keep the UPS up.
Yeah, that means I have to have a UPS for this room.
Right.
Yeah, that might happen when we move. That's not going to happen.
There you
That
go.
and I've been stewing about the fact that the move's been delayed. So
I was going to say what's going on the move front and all that stuff.
they're not going to start the house until November.
Oh.
Well, the supply.
They're going
chain-
to start it?
No, they're not going to start it until November.
Wow.
The supply chain. Look, I'm not angry at them. This is a COVID thing. The supply chain is so fucked up, and because large areas of the country are involved in housing booms right now, very much a seller's market
Yeah.
all around the Mid-Atlantic. And there are new housing starts daily, but there's a 19-week wait for windows.
Damn.
For windows. That's 5 months. And there is a 6-month wait on appliances because, corporations had inventories. Well, they've worked through their inventory. And so you've got that production lag from all the times that factories were running on low production or shut down completely because somebody had the coof.
Not to mention that
Work
fucking
crews.
debacle in the Suez Canal.
I'm just
Crews.
gonna interrupt real quick and uh, tell you something about what strikes fear in the students in a serious MBA curriculum, and it's called work in process inventory accounting. It is
Yes.
the hardest part of accounting that we tackled in the 2 years that I was in graduate school,
I believe it.
and it is mind-bendingly complex. And
Yeah.
when you hear the facile solutions being suggested by AOC and these clowns about how to handle this stuff, you realize they have no concept of the complexity of what happens in inventory management and how the supply chain actually works. I understand why you're suffering what you're
Oh yeah.
suffering on a level very few people
It's
have had the misfortune to have had to learn. It's a desperately complicated problem, and it's like you say, the end solution is, in order to reduce risk, essentially they let their inventories dwindle. When there's uncertainty on the horizon, you let your inventories dwindle. That's the overarching rule. And now you're reaping the benefit of that, unfortunately.
and a builder can't buy but so much in advance because number one, you have storage issues.
Yeah.
Especially if you're dealing with roof trusses and things like that. And when you have product as a manufacturer, you have a saleable item. And so your tax situation has to be considered. You know, how much inventory you maintain in your asset category. And then, add to all of this for new home construction
Yeah.
on their end. The guys the poor purchaser for the company that's building our home. They did an interview with him, and he said, "This is the worst I've ever seen it, and it's likely to get a little bit worse over the next couple months, and then it should turn around." And that's why they've delayed starts. There is no point in them having a pre-construction meeting with a purchaser,
So while this is
with a buyer, and then have them start the house and then go, well, we're going to have to sit on
Yeah.
this
Well,
for 6 months.
while that's going on, have you continued to clean out your house and throw stuff away and get ready?
My entire dining room table is loaded with stuff that needs to be packed up and taken to Goodwill. And I have not even finished the kitchen.
How long have you been in that house?
Well,
The house you're in right now.
Cree and I have lived here
That's what I'm talking about. You and Cree.
for 20 years.
Okay, 20 years. You really accumulate a lot of stuff.
I lived here for a decade before he and I got married. And my
Okay,
mother,
so 30 years.
And my mother never cleaned shit out.
So there was a nice patina of junk when you moved in 30 years ago.
Oh yeah, I mean my parents moved my parents were onlys of onlys. Now my dad's folks didn't have much to leave him, and his dad outlived him, so he wasn't getting furniture in that regard. But my mother, inherited furniture. She inherited china, silver, blah 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 blah. Did she get rid of it? No, she gave it to me when Cree and I got married. Well, whoop whoop, we moved it right back here, and I'm not going to use that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's an embarrassment.
It's harder.
of
It's
riches,
an
but
embarrassment of
a
riches.
mess.
It's hard to get rid of, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is hard to get rid of because right now, because of COVID, I can't drive down to Greensboro, North Carolina
Right.
to replacements and go, here, give me whatever you'll give me for this.
You can do the garage sale.
No,
have it almost be like an
no,
estate sale.
No, I can't. No, I can't. Our HOA doesn't permit it here.
No, I'm talking about an off-site garage sale. There
No,
are places
I'm having
where you
an
can.
estate sale, buddy.
Yeah.
I am going to pay for somebody to come in and manage this shit out of my house.
Well, yeah.
Because I've got two full beds, double beds, that are fine furniture beds that were, one was my grandparents, one was my parents. I've got
Okay.
tables, chairs, that kind of crap to get rid of, and I know it's
Oh, boy.
boring. And it is an embarrassment of riches, and I shouldn't complain. I'm trying to give away as much of it as I can to Goodwill to keep my karma in balance, so that when I'm fussing about shit like this, I don't sound like an ingrate.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, I want to keep moving around
Yes, sir.
the group here and see how everybody's doing. Jenna, how are you doing today? How are you feeling, hon?
Well, sorry, excuse me. I'm congested apparently. Logic. I tried to get my husband to rip my arm off so my shoulder would start hurting.
why?
And he said he wasn't Ted Bundy.
So, like eating a chicken, kind of rip your shoulder off, kind of thing.
Like a drumstick?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a drumstick. Just pull that drumstick off the leg quarter and have at it.
Well, no, he didn't have to eat. I just wanted it gone.
You just want it ripped off. I understand. I've been in pain like that. If somebody could have taken my foot off. I hurt my toe the other day, and it's still sore. So it's a tiny echo of the stuff that you have to deal with every day. I'm so sorry about that. Has anything good happened with you?
The kids all did testing and for next year for grades and for leveling up and whatever the BS they call it. And they're all ahead of schedule. Yay!
Cool.
Good.
That's good.
My grandson took an intelligence test, but it came back negative.
And Jamie is trying to figure out what to do out of the military, but
How's he adjusting?
he's not.
Because he's a guy like that spent the last 20 odd years going full tilt boogie, and you do have to decelerate.
And he intended to spend the next 20 years in
Yeah.
service too, and so it's
Yeah.
it's his life plan altered midstream, which is a big adjustment.
How's he feeling? How's he doing? Is he anxious, depressed, anything like that? It's none of my business. I'm just concerned for him. That's all.
No, you can ask those questions. Not everybody can, but you can. That sounded really bitchy. Sorry.
That's okay. You're entitled.
He has, like, he wasn't already a great father, has thrown all of his energy into, besides not being willing to rip my arm off, the kids and me and getting things done. And he just, we try to, this sounds silly, but it's important that every kid at least has an hour alone every week with us.
No, that's not silly.
So we've been able to do that a lot easier. Sometimes we split them up, and one goes with Daddy and one goes with Mommy.
Nice. All right. So pretty much situation normal for you. And another normal week in the life of Jenna.
Yeah, I personally like having James around a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
But
sometimes wives, for example, when husbands retire out of the military or they're at home, whatever, have a hard time adjusting to having him around all the time. It's good that you want him around all the time. It makes you happy.
yeah, I like him.
Yeah, you think he's okay? Good for you. All right. Irate.
Sorry about that clear throat, and I didn't know it.
No worries. Irate, what's going on with you, man?
Well, not much. SOS. I got yeeted by Susan yesterday. Per my 90 day, every 90 days, I come off and she puts me back on because she wants that gun in my head, and I don't care. You know what? This is the hill I'm willing to die on, people.
You got a community strike?
Yeah,
No.
for showing. Yeah, we were watching. Beck and I were watching this thing on Zeno Island,
Yeah.
the also known as Cannibal Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they didn't like that, apparently.
Apparently,
It wasn't a cat video, and so there you go.
well, it was a socialism leads to cannibalism movie. So
It does, though. That's the problem.
yeah,
You know, ask any North Korean you happen to see. You know,
Or a Venezuelan.
Yeah,
or
you want wrong pig? We got wrong pig for you.
don't say I'll be around for dinner. They may misinterpret that.
Well, it's interesting. All right, so they would have these escape groups, right? They would tell these guys that we're going to escape, and they called the guy the chump. They would call him the cow.
oh damn.
All right, because if they got out, they got out. All right, and that was whatever. But if they didn't get out, they'd kill him and eat him and drink his blood, eat his kidneys and drink his blood.
God damn.
They're all about the awful too, man. It was like some very graphic descriptions, but it's something I think that people need to know about, and so,
Yeah.
but so. I mean, I could bitch about it for 7 days.
Wow.
I mean, I've been here before, and I'll be here again. Acceptance is the answer to all my problems today.
Puts a different spin on steak and kidney pie, doesn't it?
And it does, man. Yeah, it's kind of isn't it funny? Like 3 penny opera, but and battle royale put together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. All right.
I
Well,
think-
Harry, what are you doing, bud?
Well, I wasn't watching Sweeney Todd meets Fantasy Island. I know that.
You got it, dude.
Happy
Well
that's
done.
Yes.
Well
I do remember coming home one time when I was in elementary school. I think I was probably 5th grade. And I walk into the house, and the whole place smells like a giant urinal cake.
Oh God.
And I'm just like, in 5th grade speak, I didn't say what in the holy hell is this. I mean, I'm just like, kind of like, oh, what does that smell? What's going on? And my grandmother was in the kitchen boiling kidneys.
Ugh.
And you have to boil them for a long time. Now, the end product, steak and kidney pie, is really good. But if you happen to show up while it's being made, you need to kind of mentally brace yourself.
Now,
You don't want to just sort of walk in.
Urinal cake is comprised, if memory serves, of this the same thing as mothballs. It's paradichlorobenzene.
Paradichlorobenzene.
Yeah.
Yes.
That has a very peculiar smell, very nasty
Well,
smell.
I was just talking about the ammonia part of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
Not the
All right,
mothball
yes,
part.
okay, gotcha.
A little
It's
bit
not-
of
it's
poetic
not
license
Latin.
is being used here.
I'm slowly twigging to what you're talking about. Click, click, click. The old 8-bit brain works. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
But
with you
luckily
now.
that was a long time ago. But when people talk about eating kidneys, it's like not all offal and tripe and stuff is necessarily that bad. It's just you kind of have to not be surprised by it.
I
Yeah.
can't stand stuff like kidney
Yep.
or liver.
Oh, you should smell chillins
Fucking
cooking.
hate
Ti-
liver.
tissue that is used by the body to filter the poisons. Let's
Yeah,
eat some.
I will not eat any of that. No.
Yeah, I'm
But-
with you.
but
I'm with you,
As
Blind
far as
Press.
today went, today was how come I go and I look at this other guy's work. He's gone, so I can say bad things about the guy who doesn't work there anymore. And I'm like, this file server with all this critical data, 100 terabytes of data, hasn't been backed up since October.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Oh
backups.
my
Backups are overrated.
God.
I'm like, why? And I'm just looking at
Why
this and go,
not?
well, backups are configured, but they're turned off. Why?
What?
They take too long. That's usually
Yeah.
what you get. The
Yeah.
IO's too slow or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, essentially what was happening was they just sort of stopped working. And I think the main issue was that there's about 18 terabytes of stuff that has to be backed up. And the pipe only moves about 20 megabytes if the wind's at its back and the
Yeah.
sun's in its heart.
I feel you.
And just before he had everything configured in one ginormous backup. So before the thing could complete, something would happen. A neutrino would pass through a relay, or a cosmic array would do something.
A
Something
single
would
neutrino can have that effect
and,
too.
and it would
CERN
just
would
go,
fire.
bum, bum, ba-dum, bwah, and it would just die, and it would just never complete. And I'm just like, Jesus, okay.
Solid imitation of the distress alarm. Yeah.
But yeah, it was not. It was kind of one of those days where you just kind of look at stuff and go, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, I get paid by the hour, so what do I care?
I
It's
was just going to say that it's all this is just kind of grist for your mill, really.
Yeah, well, it's just interesting. You learn a lot about things when people leave.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't learn about what happened until they leave. Like when I finally went through my grandmother's closet after she passed away, I realized that she had something she probably had 30 pairs of white tennis shoes on this special little shelf, and they were all nearly identical, but not quite. And it didn't look like any of them had even been worn. I mean, but she had this collection of white tennis shoes. And I'm just like, Yeah, it's like, if I'd only realized the dementia had set in so early.
Yes.
I could have done something
intervened.
sooner.
Yeah. But, it's interesting. I think everybody who is spending time in the business has a story like this. There was a major competitor to AT&T. I'm going to leave the name of the company out. And they had been backing up their accounts payable. The guy was in charge of the accounts payable backup. That was pretty much his whole job. I mean, this is an international company. They were, on a set of file servers in Atlanta, Georgia. And, he thought it would be an efficiency thing if he just didn't rotate out the tapes. He was supposed to rotate out the tapes out of this tape drive and do the backups. Unbeknownst to him, the tape that he had in there not only wasn't being written on, okay, but it was bad. So he didn't even have an old backup. And they went down, had a big server farm crash where they had to reconstruct their data, and they said, no problem, we've got it on backup. And he took that tape out, put it in, cannot read the media, there's no data on it anyway. There's no beginning of file mark. Everything that was wrong could be wrong. With it. It was, they sent it to a data recovery group. They couldn't get any data off of it. And,
Did he lose his job?
oh yes, he lost his job. Yeah. And in a telco, those were the days when you couldn't lose your job in telephone companies, like being fired from the government is today. You simply couldn't do it. And they said, get out, just get out.
Yeah. We'll pay your unemployment happily just to have you not be here.
Exactly. Our stock price will go up as you leave the building, you asshole. So yeah. Anyway, so I hear you. When I hear somebody has 100 terabytes that they're not backing up, I just kind of go, at some point, someone is going to be asked the question, why exactly did you think this was a good idea?
I haven't even looked at the identically sized file server yet, the second one. There's another one. I don't even know what's on it yet, let alone whether it's being backed up.
Can you at least mirror them and then sync them up together?
Then they'd run out of space. They have 100 terabytes of disk. If we were only using 50, I could mirror them.
Yeah, well, I just figured they weren't full.
Oh.
Silly me. I'm being silly, aren't I?
Yeah. Yeah, if you give
Silly
users disk,
optimistic.
they will just fill it up. Which is why the main thing I usually start with is I look at people and say, okay, do you have a data retention policy or do you have unlimited funds? I just need to know what I'm working with here. And they kind of look at me like blank data retention policy. What's that? That's how you decide when you get to throw the old shit away.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's an important question because there's no amount of disk that you can buy that won't eventually fill up if you don't have a data retention plan. Let's just put it in the cloud. Yeah, let's just put it in the cloud. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, there's so many things wrong with that. It's not even, back in the day,
The Jordan
you remember
Peterson.
optical jukeboxes? Do you remember optical jukeboxes, Harry?
Of course I do. I turned down a job at Cisco because I didn't feel like running one of them.
Okay, well that's what I did for several years. Was I had a farm of HP jukeboxes, and among other things, I also wrote the Lisp code for the application that wrote data to them. Anyway,
Well, no, that's okay. But I only had they wanted me to basically sit there and stare at one.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like, here
thank
you go. Here you go. Stop doing your important job where you're doing important
and run
things.
diagnostics all
and come
day.
here and look at this one jukebox, and this is your life. It's like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Well, all right. Well, at any rate, making a long story short, I remember when we bought those, and every cartridge was like 300 megabytes of data. We thought, we'll never, we can just buy another jukebox. We'll never get to where we fill up these. I mean, people were beginning, this was 1998, 1996, 1998, and people were talking in terms of, soon, there will be disks that actually will hold 1 terabyte of data. Can you imagine such a thing? And it's just how quickly we become accustomed to orders of magnitude, and I mean that literally orders of magnitude increases in the size of permanent storage that is available and that we have to learn how to manipulate and do efficient input-output on.
I remember when 1 gigabyte MP3 players were like, oh my god, you have a gig of memory on your MP3 player? That's amazing.
Harry and I remember when 1,000 bytes was a lot of data.
Yeah, no, it's true. I as I've told many people, the first hard drive I ever owned personally was 10 megabytes, and it cost me $1,000.
Oh my god.
10 megabytes, but it
That
meant
is-
you didn't have
Mine
to-
had
you didn't
seven.
have to-
Was it a
I had
Western
7
Digital
gigs. I'm
or
sorry.
a Seagate?
ST225.
ST225 Seagate. I was a dealer for them, man. Wow,
So
awesome.
you were in Scott. Did you have to go to Scotts Valley occasionally?
Oh yes, and I knew David Law, knew all the people at Law Cypress. We probably know a lot of the same people.
The funny thing is, the number of times Skep and I have been within a mile of each other is probably a staggering.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out he and I used to go to the same swimming pool at the same time too.
Yes,
That's funny.
that's the really eerie thing
At
is
the
that
exact same time?
at the exact same time at the same year, same period of time, we would have been and on Saturdays, and I'm sure you were there on Saturdays. That I was there every Saturday. So
That's
Hell
amazing.
yes.
ah,
It's a
jeez,
small world.
that is just
Well, the
so,
kids pool was lame, so I took the
Harry and I
shredding water
realized
test,
we-
and I got the little patch, and I would hang out in the adult pool. That was where the fun was. But they were real Nazis about if you hit the snack bar. They really did that 30-minute thing before you could get back in the water.
Harry and I realized that we knew the same lifeguard. We talked about that. It's just it's like we went to different schools together.
Yeah, pretty much. Good times.
So anyway, good times. All right. One thing nobody ever asked the host how their week was. I'm just going to add a personal note for myself here, and that is today is the 17th anniversary of the day that I decided that alcohol was not for me, and I was going to pursue a life of not just not drinking, but of actual intellectual and spiritual sobriety. And it's been a wonderful ride. I always credit my friends, that's you guys, and many other friends who have been along with me for this ride through life. And I don't get overly sentimental about it anymore, but I sure am happy to be here. And without the program of AA and without my friends and the little bit of a program I've been able to put together, I would not be here today. So I'm especially happy to be here with you. And that's all we need to say about that. But anyway, yeah, 17 years ago. Who'd have thunk it?
Yay!
Cool.
It's kind of fun. It's also kind of a conversation killer. I notice. You know, because
No,
everybody
no,
kind
I-
of goes,
No, it
"What the
isn't.
fuck am I supposed to say?"
Happy
It's
birthday.
now officially. It is now. First of all, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And it is
So your
now
birthday's the 20th.
officially Logan's birthday.
All right, happy birthday, Logan.
Happy birthday, Logan.
to you. Happy birthday
Birthday
to
to
you. Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
dear Logan.
Aw.
Happy
Birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
you.
I can't believe
Congrats,
it's
bro.
4.
It's a terrible key for me.
I
Hey,
swear I
hey,
can't
address
believe
the-
it's 4.
Address the
Wait,
chat briefly.
Yes, please.
So Joel McLaughlin is, I swear another guy I've probably been in the same vicinity with before. I had a 30 megabyte MFM drive in a leading edge PC.
Hell yeah.
I fixed.
MFM
I had
controller.
one of those. I had one of those that I
Yep.
that I put in for a friend of mine in their leading edge PC, and I remember there was a problem with the length of this card that was attached to the whole MFM mess. I had to get out a hacksaw and remove part of the frame so I could get that thing in there. But man, 30 megabyte MFM, that was those were good times. You
Those
know,
were that was a
3
badass
times what
drive.
I had.
That was a
No,
badass
those were
drive back
perfectly
then.
perfectly
Yeah.
fine drives.
Yeah. The chipset
yeah, I
got
mean-
hot on the MFM controllers. I remember that.
But I mean, I don't want to lose chat completely. But just so you know, my the drive that I had MFM, basically 2 cards glued onto it. One was MFM to SCSI, and then it was SCSI to DMA. And then the DMA
Right.
went into my Atari 512 ST.
Dude,
That
they're-
was
just talking
that
about
was
direct
for
memory
optimum
access.
That was
Yeah.
for optimum memory efficiency.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
Let's run it through. How many
Go
converters?
straight to the DMA channel, man. Fucking A.
SCSI to MFM converter. Screwed on the bottom of this thing.
Yeah, like a daughter board, right?
It was.
Yeah, I know
It was,
exactly
it was
what
the
you're talking
biggest
about.
hack in the world.
Oh,
But
yeah.
man, I didn't have to swap floppies to compile Hello World with my C compiler, so I was pretty happy.
Good on you. Good on you. All right.
We really need to have that text stream and get this out of our system for the sake of chat
Yeah.
and all of our friends.
The
before they
thing
kill
is,
us.
it's never really gone out of your system. You always will reminisce about the time, but I do think it would be fun to capture on stream some of our memories, particularly before mine is too far gone and irretrievable. But at any rate, good times. We could have some of our friends here who were also
What
there. I
happened
mean,
to IP?
He had to go.
I can't see the stream thingy. I
No,
see
he
right
sent us a
in, but
note. IP had to take off. Goodbye, IP.
Yeah, he did mention earlier that he would have to scoot probably at the hour mark.
he's
I
always
thought you
he's
said
always
for an
he's touchy about DMA channels. He's always been funny that way.
I had a question for him.
Aw.
You can cherish that question and possibly even write it down.
I already wrote it down so I
There
wouldn't
you go.
interrupt.
Good girl. All right.
GP, will you share this with Logan if I do my super fast happy birthday song? Alex.
Or
Logan.
Logan. Yeah.
No, Logan. Ready?
Yes.
Happy birthday out there. Happy birthday to you all year. If I ever should be happy birthday. Damn it. Hold on. Start over. Happy birthday, Logan, dear. Being to come to you all year. And if I had to wish it would be a happy birthday to you from me.
Aw.
Don't share the first part.
I will.
Blind Press, how fast do you type? What's your typing speed?
About 60 words a minute.
Sounds faster. You sound like you're
That's
typing
not
about.
me typing.
That's
Oh,
me. Sorry.
That's
Oh,
Harry.
okay. That's Harry.
I'm like 60 to 70 words a minute.
Stupid mechanical keys.
So
I'm
Harry's
pretty-
a fast typist too.
I'm pretty quick on my keyboard, and I also type very quickly in Braille.
Yeah, I've noticed that you actually are though a very fast typist. That's why I thought it was you because I know from prior experience that you are.
Yeah, I type because I've been typing since um, when the kids would go to the computer lab at school to play all the fun paint games.
Mm-hmm.
I had to sit there and learn how to use JAWS for Windows, which was, well, I hate JAWS still. I won't. It's one of the reasons why I won't go back to Windows. But if I ever went back to Windows, I would use a different program. You know, JAWS. For those of you who are going, what the fuck is JAWS? It's a screen reader. It's the same. It's like does the same job as VoiceOver. However, JAWS in the '90s sounded like Stephen Hawking.
Mm.
So
What are
exactly, pretty much. That's how you had to listen to your computer. It talked to you like this all the time. And I had to learn how to use JAWS and type and basically just learn how to use a computer. So I've been typing since probably fourth or fifth grade. Or no, probably yeah, fourth or fifth, because basically as soon as I finished learning all the braille, like contractions and everything, they moved me on to typing.
Mm. Amazing. Well, it's just interesting. I heard you typing, and I thought it was kind of interesting. You know, just to, as a pivot point, there have been more flights on Mars of this amazing little drone called the Ingenuity.
Oh, have there?
Yes, there have,
Oh, sweet.
and they've made 2 or 3 flights now, and they have actually moved it around, not just straight up and down, but they've actually done a little bit of a tour. And I continue to just think that's the coolest thing
That is so awesome.
ever. And really begin to wonder if maybe the way that we explore other places doesn't involve people, because you sure have to do a lot to change from getting machines to places like Mars. You have to add a lot to get people there.
People don't understand how much it would take to get a person onto Mars.
Yeah, and Mars is pretty inhospitable. You know, I actually looked
Yeah.
up the atmospheric pressure because I wanted to know what it was. And the atmospheric pressure on Earth is 1,013 millibars of pressure. That's the standard pressure at sea level.
Yeah.
And just think of it as how much force, really, per unit area that the atmosphere is pushing on things. Okay, so if you had a balloon that was the size of that had 1 meter, 1 square meter of area,
Mm-hmm.
you would that would be the equivalent of having in pure force of 100 newtons per millibar. So at any rate, it's force over a square area, a plane basically.
Yeah.
And so at sea level, it's 1,013 on Earth. The pressure on Mars is 6. 6 millibars versus what we're used to, 1,013.
Yeah.
So Mars, even though it technically has an atmosphere, it would not be very different from a pure vacuum with respect to the effect that it would have on humans. And it dawns on me that when you look at the value add of putting people on Mars, you know, aside from the, you know, because it's their factor, you're actually spending a lot of money and going through a lot of pain and taking a lot of risk to put people on a place that is effectively a vacuum. The temperature is like minus 100, and
On a
it,
good day.
yeah, it does. Sometimes it gets up to 40 degrees, Fahrenheit. Woohoo! Occasionally it gets above freezing. In the very hottest part of the place. It's got a weird thing when the way that it tilts. The tilt changes from 0 to 60 degrees. Mars wobbles in its orbit, and it's really irregular how that works. It doesn't have a moon to stabilize it. There's just all kinds of bad things about going to Mars and trying to live on Mars. Mars is a shite candidate.
Not to mention,
And-
there's a huge factor that we have to worry about as humans going onto Mars, and that's all the damn dust.
Oh yeah, it's all filled
gonna
with perchlorate,
it
and
would
it's like
clog
volcanic
any
glass.
environmental system that we would have.
Absolutely, it's a huge problem, and it's like fiberglass. It's nasty ass.
Yeah.
So come visit Mars. Come
I'd
see
rather
Mars and die.
I would rather go to Titan as a human
Yeah,
than
Titan isn't a
go
lot
to
better, but it's
Mars. Quite
yeah.
honestly, like just put on some tanks of oxygen and a good suit.
Yeah. No,
I
of
have
course, on
some.
Titan, you have 2 or 3 times the atmospheric pressure of Earth,
That's
so
true.
you would be squashed. It would be bad.
That's true.
You would die from that. So Titan is. It's interesting. I've been on the inside of a big giant tank that has held nothing but petroleum from being on a tanker in the Navy. I would imagine that's what being on Titan is like.
Probably.
That's my idea of what Titan is like. It just stinks of methane. But
Could I make a few suggestions of people that should try Mars out?
Ollie Berg. No, I didn't say that.
yeah, who have you got in mind? Who do you think who do you think should be in that first ship heading to Mars?
Well, Molly.
Now to mention it. Okay.
Nancy. This woman named Nancy.
Pelosi.
This guy named Joe. His friend Justin.
Yeah. Now, Susan, there are many Joes and Justins in the world, so we aren't actually being specific here. It could be any Joe, Justin, or Nancy.
We're not saying it's Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden, so just get that out of your. Or Justin Trudeau, or any of those people. Or that Justin Trudeau is the son of Fidel Castro.
No, we're not.
We're not saying that. I don't know why anyone would say that.
Alberta, New Mexico.
I guess they say that because he looks exactly like him.
Let's see.
And he's a communist.
Yeah.
He's mentally deficient. He's insane.
Are we allowed to talk about what Cuomo said?
What? Who?
Hold on a second. I have to clear my throat again.
Are we allowed?
Cuomo.
Are we allowed to
Cuomo?
talk about what Cuomo said?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
tell
If he
those
doesn't
old
disagree
people.
with the CDC, I think we probably can.
Well, it involves. He claimed that if white kids were police aside, white people would care more because it's not happening to our children. We don't care about black children.
Oh, was this Andrew or was this Chris?
It was Chris who just went off during what his show.
Yeah.
So is he like advocating for white kids to be shot? I'm confused.
He thinks if we would care more if white kids were, which I don't want any kids shot.
Right? I also don't want kids stabbing other kids with knives.
You know, neither do I. And
Well, what
the
kind
mental
of bigot are
gymnastics.
you?
You
The
know,
mental gymnastics with this is just how we were raised.
you know, there were 457 white people shot to death by police last year. There were 241 black people shot, so that's less than half. Black people are less than half the number of white people. So white people are being shot by police. I don't know where they're getting the idea that I don't know where Chris Cuomo, who is normally a very fine person with a great mind, I don't know where he's getting the idea that white people aren't being shot by the police, because roughly a little over twice as many white people are being shot by police as black people being shot by police. So if he's saying that not as many white people are being shot by police as black people, he's simply got that wrong. That is just
like he's
wrong.
Saying more white people should be shot by police.
Yeah.
It's already double. How many more does he want?
I don't know.
Well,
It sounds like he's bloodthirsty.
you know, I'll send you that video, Skep, so you can.
Oh, I believe you totally. In fact, I've heard him say similar things. He's an idiot who is doing this to get attention, because that's all he knows how to do. He's not a very intelligent man. He was dragged through law school by a bunch of tutors and managed to graduate. And he's such a good lawyer. He works for CNN as a reporter.
Is he the younger Cuomo?
Yes, he is. He is Cuomo the younger. And also known as Cuomo the stupid. There's Cuomo the evil and Cuomo the stupid.
Yeah.
Cuomo the elder, who was actually a decent man, although he was a tax and spend liberal.
Mario?
Yeah, Mario. He was the guy I met. And then there's Cuomo the evil. He was the one who killed the old people in the nursing homes. And then there's Cuomo the stupid, who spouts off things and lies about his COVID experience and so forth and so on. So, and is too stupid to realize that people are catching him in this lie, and just goes through life blinking and wondering what things really mean.
Are you Cuomophobic?
I am a Cuomophobe, I'm afraid. I'm scared to death of him.
Sorry, but that won't be tolerated, because we know that Susan is a Cuomosexual.
Yeah, she is a Cuomosexual. There are a lot of Cuomosexuals, if you really want to know the truth. I don't know why they give that family break after break after break.
I don't
Prospero.
either. I guess it's that Kennedys got a little too inbred and dull.
I don't know.
They got boring after a while.
I like this new John Kennedy. He's not bad.
Yeah, the other one, right? You know.
The other John Kennedy.
Which the John or
we're speaking of the congressman from Louisiana, senator from Louisiana. Sorry.
Yeah, he's a senator from Louisiana. He's and his name is John Kennedy.
Yeah, but not that John Kennedy.
But he's not that John Kennedy.
He's a Bayou version of that John Kennedy.
Yeah. He's pretty sensible and has a good head on his shoulders.
Now, listening to him speak is almost though as agonizing as Hal Heflin was.
You're not wrong.
You know, people think the South is like uniform, and
no, it's not monolithic at all.
Struggling along the Gulf Coast are these states where it takes people about a half an hour to say hello, how are you? And then kind of once you get above that tier, people begin to speak at kind of a normal pace. Still slower than the Northeast, but not quite like watching molasses in January.
Virginia is kind of a crossroads of a lot of different accents. You have
Boy,
all
isn't it?
kinds.
And we have the slow ones. Trust me, that's Southwest Virginia.
Yeah, oh
and,
yeah, very definitely.
some of the southern tier of the state. There were two brothers that raced in NASCAR, Jeff Burton and Ward Burton.
Or
They were raised in the same family. There was not a wild amount of difference between their ages. Yet one of them talked like this, and the other one talked like this. I mean, he was Southern, but he talked, a lot faster and a lot more distinctly than his brother Ward did. And they finally just said that Ward was born in the southwest bedroom of the family home.
yeah,
Because he talked as Southside Virginia as you could get. And Jeff didn't at all. It was
Yeah.
just like, how are you in the same
but more than just variants of the Southern accent, Virginia has that Tidewater. Don't some of the people speak in the Tidewater accent?
Some still do, yeah.
I mean, mostly the island people, right?
I'd say it'd be Tanger Island.
Yeah.
And most of that, well, people are leaving that island. I mean, it's not heavily populated. Now, in the 80s, when Robert McNeil did The Story of English, he went to Tanger Island and said that, this was language that Shakespeare would recognize.
Right.
Now,
I remember that from that special.
It's a peculiar accent. I can't mimic it because it's not.
But they say "oot" for out.
Oot.
I've known some people from around there who had that a little bit of that accent, and they a boot and
boot,
They actually say a boot.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
actually
a
do.
boot.
They truly do.
A boot and oot, and there is a bit of a Tidewater, North Carolina accent also,
Yeah,
and
I've heard that also.
and it has some peculiar language has stayed around that, or I mean, like
But these are
like
so
a word
different.
like cattywampus.
Yeah, well,
you
yeah,
know, where
you have zillions of
Yeah.
idioms and stuff, but it's so different from the northern Virginia accent, which is now Pakistani, if you really want to know the truth. But
it is.
no, seriously, the old Virginia accent that came from the north of the
Richmond.
northern state.
It came from Richmond.
Yeah.
The old Virginia accent. which is
Virginia, sir.
Virginia. So and it's a little
Foghorn Leghorn accent.
bit, not really.
No,
It's
not
very,
really.
very patrician, my dear.
Yeah, it's very clipped. Where Foghorn
Almost
Leghorn.
British.
Almost.
Yeah, well, it's high. It's high rhetoric.
A
It's
little bit
very,
like
very high
a little
rhetoric.
bit like Charleston has its own. Charleston's a bit more rural
Charleston, you can't understand those people.
than it's a bit mushier mouthed, but
Yeah.
or broader. It's just more.
I have some
It's
cousins
really
when we moved
rounded
to
vowels.
South Carolina. They
Charles.
became unintelligible.
Yeah. Richmond's kind of patrician, a little bit English, but not what we think of as the English accent, because that Oxbridge accent is not West Country,
No.
and most Southern accents are West Country.
Yeah.
So you get a pronounced R, but it's
Ah,
R. There's
Yeah.
a big AH in front of it.
Yes.
yeah,
I've
and
noticed-
swallow the ending. Yeah,
I've noticed a lot in because I'm listening to a lot of the Shadow stuff, and the announcers being in that New England slash,
That sound.
but
Yeah.
they'll say law and order
Order. Yeah.
Law and
it's
order.
The Brahmin.
instead of order.
And there
you
was
know,
a very much a weird Brahmin accent in Boston, and it's more most of the settlers in that area in colonial times were from East Anglia, or or if not East Anglia, eastern portion of Great Britain, as opposed to the West Country people who were the southern migration. And then you had the Scots that went into Maryland and North Carolina.
North Carolina, right?
Because there was a. I mean, slaves spoke Gaelic. Spoke Gaelic in Swansboro, North Carolina, that area. Port, small, not a huge port, but it was a area where Gaelic was spoken, and then they settled throughout the state of North Carolina, and both in the Appalachians and across the southern tier. My grandmother, my mother's mother, was born in Scotland County, North Carolina.
We have a Scotland, Ontario.
Yeah, the migration of language, the English language, in the Americas is very, very interesting.
And not taught in school because it's white.
Well, also it's complex because it's highly geographical on both sides of the migration.
And white.
Yeah, but you've got, Robert McNeil clearly had the sound of Nova Scotia in his voice. I mean, he was a very well-trained broadcaster, but there were certain words that it was like, he's from Halifax. You're an out, a boot, a doon, a tone. You've got the, that Scot remnant to your voice. It's fascinating. It's like the Cajun accent, the doubling of the vowels. I mean, of the pronouns.
Pronouns. Yeah.
The doubling of the pronouns and stuff of that French patois.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're saying. You. And the rhythm of it and the pronunciation of certain words, they still pronounce some of their French correctly. Not much.
Oh my God, I cannot understand Creole French.
A word or two
at all.
Yeah.
Except
Creole
for
is just bizarre.
But any French, like Cajun French, I just.
Well, I hear Creole though is Haitian.
That's true.
Yeah.
But if I hear like Haitian or Cajun French, like I just go, what?
Well, you're talking about pidgin French.
Yeah.
With Creole.
Yeah.
That's a pidgin tongue, and
yeah.
It's like pidgin English. If you go to BBC Pidgin, I mean, you can understand pidgin English better than you can understand pidgin French.
Yeah.
We were taught that Creole was pidgin when I was taking linguistic anthropology at Northwestern. And as I look it up now, listen to this. Creole is a stable, natural language that develops from the simplifying and mixing of different languages into a new one within a fairly brief period of time.
Oh, okay. So it's
Good God.
That is a pidgin.
Yeah,
that's a definition of a pidgin, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
Well, then it says often a pidgin evolved into a full-fledged language. While the concept is similar to that of a mixed or hybrid language, Creoles are often characterized by a tendency to systematize their inherited grammar, for example, by eliminating irregularities or regularizing conjugation of otherwise irregular verbs. Like any language, Creoles are characterized by a consistent system of grammar, possess large stable vocabularies, and are acquired by children as their native language. These three features distinguish Creole language from a pidgin. So Creolistics or Creolology is the study of Creole languages, and as such is a subfield of linguistics.
I guess I could understand that, and it's an island, as opposed to the English pidgin in Africa, which was a trading language or communication.
Listen to this.
Speakers.
The precise number of Creole languages is not known, particularly as many are poorly attested and documented. About 100 Creole languages have arisen since the year 1500. These are predominantly based on European languages such as English and French. blah 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 blah, Atlantic slave trade and all blah 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 blah. Anyway, but essentially what they did was they developed a pidgin, the simplified language, so that they could do trade and stuff like that, and then full Creole languages developed based on those pigeons, usually by a combination of those pigeons, like 2 or 3 of them would come in. For example, Creole's based on Arabic, Chinese, and Malay. There's like 3 of those.
Huh.
And who knew? I did not know that until this moment.
I didn't know it either, because I always considered it. I mean, I knew it was taught as a language.
Yeah, the Creole with the largest number of speakers is Haitian Creole, which is kind of what you were talking about. And it's got 10 million native speakers of that. But Tock Pisan, which I bet you've never heard of, has 4 million. And but the thing of it is, with Tock Pisan, most of those that's a second language. And Tock Pisan, by the way, is the language that they speak in New Guinea. And that's like an old, cargo cult language kind of a thing. And it's all spoken throughout Papua New Guinea. And I actually studied that language when I was doing a term paper on Jugaruru and the concept of law in New Guinea. And I had to learn some Tock Pisan.
Huh. That's
Real
interesting.
quick, I'm turning into a pumpkin.
She took her meds on us again,
I
guys.
did.
Yeah.
All right, go away before your drugs peak.
Well, you have a big birthday to celebrate.
I
tomorrow.
do. Yeah.
You do. Big
We
time
see you.
Happy
tomorrow.
birthday, Logan.
Wish Logan a happy birthday for us. Go ahead and show your stuff, hon.
So tomorrow there is going to be a coffee stream with Functional. It's going to be an hour later than normal because I have a doctor's appointment on the phone at noon
So it'll be 1 o'clock
So it'll
Eastern,
be
12 o'clock
Central. Yeah.
Central.
And then Thursday, I'll be doing another Beat the Blind Girl, practicing for the tournament. And then Saturday, of course, we're going to do the Star Trek stream that we were going to do last Saturday, which
Yes.
is Sex
I'm
Among the Stars. Which
I'm
is
sorry
really
about
fun.
that.
Hey,
was
no
my
worries.
foot acting up. Really sorry about that.
No worries.
What was it, DP?
It's called Sex Among the Stars. So we're going to talk about relationships that happened, relationships that we wish happened, and relationships that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, two
And
things that
then-
were just plain bad ideas.
And then we're also going to talk about like different cultural rituals that have been shown in Star Trek from the different aliens.
With respect to
with
the
respect
romantic
to
arts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes, I am fully functional.
Fully functional.
Yeah, was it the Naked Now TNG, was it like second or third episode of the first season?
Yeah.
Oh, good lord.
They're still finding themselves, so to speak.
Let's not forget what was Sulu in the Naked Time, running around shirtless with his
frickin'
sword.
katana,
Oh
yeah.
my!
Oh my!
Oh my!
How gay is that?
I know. It's so
It's
funny when
super
everybody
Not
was
that
like,
there's anything wrong with that.
"Did you know that George Takei was gay?" And it's like, uh-huh.
Was there any doubt in your mind?
Did you watch the original series? Okay, now if you didn't watch the original series, did you watch any of the movies?
Like
Sipping
it's so
tea like a queen in the captain's seat.
not
Yes.
not to mention it's so awkward whenever they have Sulu hitting on any woman.
Yes.
Like you feel so uncomfortable watching it.
It's like he's got his cootie armor up.
It's like watching your grandfather try to hit on your grandmother.
Yeah. He's
Cootie
not Neil
armor.
Patrick Harris. He can't pull it off.
No, exactly.
All right, guys, I'm gonna head off. But thanks for
All right.
having me, and I'll see you guys Thursday night too.
We'll look forward to it.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks,
Ta-ta
DP.
for now. Have a great birthday.
Good
See
night,
you,
guys.
see you later.
I love birthdays for my kids.
Kid's
I
birthday.
saw something cool the other day, Skep.
Yes.
I saw. Have you followed this emerging field of 3D printed buildings at all?
not 3D printed buildings. So 3D printing fascinates me. I mean, if it doesn't fascinate you, there's something wrong with you. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, imagine, if you will, a ginormous 3D printer that basically pipes out like a cement-like structure.
Mm-hmm.
It actually will put like walls one on top of the other with these layers of this extruded stuff, and they're trying to replace as much of the cement with other earth-friendly, AOC-pleasing compounds as possible. And then they
How
usually just sort of
unpleasant.
put like a little wave of material in between to sort of add structure. And they're printing these houses, and they can actually print a fairly large house in like 3 days.
No.
And and they can create all sorts of irregular surfaces and curves and shapes. There's a lot of ridiculous European BS where you just look at it and go, okay, you're just being European for the sake of being European. That's cute and all with your little space sentinel pile house that you've created, whatever that is supposed to be.
You know, I'm reading about houses, and they're talking about a 3D printed house costs the company that builds it $10,150.
Yeah, they've finally built the first permitted 3D printed house in the U.S.
Shut the
and
front door. Are you
Not
kidding
only
me?
did they have the 3D thing that basically extrudes the walls,
Yeah.
but they have a thing which a simpler thing which basically just takes like cinder block type things, and it has like a computer that just feeds them down an assembly thing to an arm which just positions them. And so if you're not up for the full extruded building concept, you can just have a robot that basically builds the structure of a building out of Legos, and it's so much faster and cheaper overall than having humans do it.
I'm looking at the 3D printed house, and it's just unfucking believable. This is it. This is the shizzle, man.
That's
Yeah,
your
for
answer
better or worse,
to
this is the
affordable
future.
housing.
Yeah. Well, you
Oh
still
my
need to put
God.
drywall and stuff on the inside if you want it to seem normal, right?
Yeah.
But that still
That's
saves you
a
a ton of time.
manager. The thing that this saves you is labor. That's the big cost in building a house. The big thing is labor more than it is anything else.
Well, also materials. It allows you to work with different materials as well. So it gives you flexibility in terms of the basic stock, because you couldn't really adapt this technique to people doing it by hand unless you're talking
That's true.
about...
That's a good point.
Well, there is that structure. I can't remember where it's basically an earthen building. Well, there's a number of cob-type structures and things like that, but you look at people just trying to build essentially a fancy yurt out of mud, and that's, weeks worth of work with all your friends coming over and all the kumbaya and free pizza. But these things are actually usable.
Wow. That is the house. That is a 3D printed house right there, ladies and gentlemen.
That is extraordinary.
They just fucking printed that.
Well, there's a bigger one too, if you can find it.
Let's see. Look over.
Sorry, I didn't really.
No.
come prepared for this.
People are going to have second homes all over the place.
Oh, here I found it. I'll put it up here. This is amazing. This is absolutely.
I mean, land
phenomenal.
cost is going to be your big.
It's going to be the big
investment
thing now. Yeah, exactly right. It's exactly right. It's
But
share the
think
screen.
think about it. If you don't want anything super duper marvelous, wow.
That's a house.
Has that
Yeah.
been sided, or did they 3D print the siding?
If you see it up close, you can actually see there's a bit of texture to it.
I have
It
a
doesn't
stupid
need
question.
it doesn't need siding because essentially it is like a concrete building, but it's really more like cob.
Okay, so it's been scored to look like siding.
Yeah, it
No, you
looks
don't
like
have
that.
to score it. The extrusion process does that because
Okay, yeah.
essentially, imagine if you were trying to, I don't know, frost.
I know what
I
know
know
what
I know what you mean.
I know what she's
Yeah.
trying to say. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's by running.
it's in the printing process that's
Yeah.
done. That's amazing. That is
I
absolutely.
have a
And I
question.
want one now. Yes,
I
go
wouldn't
ahead.
mind an
Go ahead, Jenna.
outbuilding.
First of all, is that like life size?
Yes, that is a regular sized house. That is a
Where
big
did they
honking
get a
house.
printer big enough to do this?
Yeah,
It's a big printer.
it's a big honking printer, and it has
I just-
special toner, I guess.
That is extraordinary.
That is amazing.
Look at
Harry,
those
I am
mature
blown away.
trees for scale. You know, it's just.
I know. Yeah, that's it.
Does it print the windows or are they installed?
Yeah, sorry, everybody has to wait for Windows, including you, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's only 19 weeks.
But I'm just thinking about people who want a second home, like in a warmer climate or a place near skiing, because that's what they want to do. They buy the land, and for $25,000, if they're finishing the interior, let's say, with wallboard, they've got a house. Oh my goodness gracious, is that going to kneecap some markets?
Oh, that's just what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Do not bring this online until I sell my fucking house and get moved.
Okay, can you embiggen me here?
Yes, absolutely.
I really can't
Big in
comprehend
you.
this.
Well, it'll be clear in a moment because I have a visual aid for you.
And make
This is a house that was actually built in Florida. So you got this big ass robot. Ignore this guy. We don't care about you. And there it is printing the house.
Holy.
I'm right there with you, Prospero. I'm just absolutely
So
transfixed.
do they stop at a certain point for the electricals and plumbing? Or, I mean, because your electricals tend to run through walls. So
Well, a lot of that's
Yeah,
in the
you have to have
foundation.
sockets.
What you do in a modern building when you do this, you actually have all the conduits in the foundation.
yeah,
And that's where your electrical and stuff goes. Then, of course, you have to run it out. So ignore these idiots. But that gives you a rough idea of.
No, I
what,
understand the conduits, because I've seen that. I've seen the plumbing being brought up prior to pads being poured, and that kind of thing, and conduits for electrical. So it's just pad building with, look at it.
I want to see the machine that builds the printer.
Yeah, so do I. That's
well,
just bizarre.
This is where
though,
I
isn't
could
it?
insert a bunch of gratuitous political comments, but I'm going to just not do that. You all know what I'm going to say. I'll save you the time.
Capitalism, ho.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. This is not a socialist idea. I do agree with you. But the other thing is, this is the sort of thing that AOC and that lot, they could never understand even what's going on here.
No,
But I know they
couldn't.
know how to exploit it.
But
Free
the-
houses for everybody.
Well,
Yeah.
But it's not free.
But for the sensible people who are looking at affordable housing solutions in areas where they are very difficult to come by. Harry, you're intimately familiar with an area like that. I mean, the whole Bay Area has an enormous housing problem, and there's a lot of NIMBY and other things that go on. You're still going to get that because exteriors of houses need to be maintained, yards need to be maintained, that kind of thing, for cohesive neighborhood environments, more or less. I know that's sounding very judgy of me, but we've all seen housing projects and how people treat free shit.
They treat it with no respect because
They
they don't
treat it
understand.
like it's free. They treat it exactly.
They
like
don't
it's free.
understand treating your property with respect because Well, it's not their property, so why would they treat it nicely?
But I mean, you're talking about people with much more limited means being able to look at in future their own home. I mean, in the people that genuinely want their own homes, being able to do so, and boy, is this going to displace a fuck ton of workers
if it gets popular.
if it gets popular and if it can live up to all the in the structural tests and that kind of thing, because they're going to be some,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
there are going to be some areas where there are going to be issues with settling and
Yeah, I don't think you're going to build this in Florida unless it can stand
this
up
one
to a
was being
hurricane.
built in Florida.
I know. I was just going to say this one looks like it's being built in Florida. I just wonder how it's going to do in a hurricane.
It's probably in inland Florida, though.
It is essentially flood-proof in the sense that the main structure can deal
It's
with
watertight,
the water and a flood.
basically, right?
And just think about all those annoying insects that they have in Florida that aren't an issue. You don't have to worry about termites or fire ants or whatever other, Talladega scorpions, whatever insects they have in Florida. You don't have to deal with a lot of that
Palmettobugs.
shit.
And coral snakes are a thing in Florida. They exist, and
I
Are they
just thought this was
poisonous?
cool. And I
Yes.
think it's kind of a game changer, honestly. It sure could be. I think the economics of it make a whole hell of a lot of sense. And if
Yeah.
you look at the nationwide trends in housing,
yeah.
in the United States, a lot of houses are changing hands and a lot of people are moving. And the available supply of houses for sale is about half what it was before the pandemic.
Yes.
There is a huge demand for housing, which is probably
The
not helping your
interesting thing
supply
is,
chain.
well, there's
Inventory.
40,000 abandoned houses, single-family dwellings. 40,000 abandoned houses in what city? Tell me what city. Make me
Detroit.
proud.
Detroit.
Detroit. Very good. 40,000. It's actually, I think it's 44,000. 40,000 abandoned houses up there. They're
How
just
many of those are
abandoned.
habitable? How many of them are could actually be rehabilitated, or would it just be cheaper to tear them down and
It'd
make
be
new ones?
cheaper to
Because a
tear
house
them
that
down.
Most
A
of
house
them
like
are
that
tear
doesn't
downs.
count as a
Most of those are tear downs. But in these cases, the land has been abandoned,
Yes.
Yep.
and a certain percentage of them could be rehabilitated, could be put back together. But it's probably less than 10% of them. But my point is that you're having a real population disruption. You're having people leave Michigan and New York and California in droves, and they're heading down here to Texas like you can't believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Congratulations on your new
Our new
seats.
congressional seats, yeah. And I just hope that they're Republican seats. I mean, Republicans are only marginally better than Democrats, but they are better than Democrats. At least down here, they are.
I saw somebody on Twitter the
Wait,
other day
you
said, I
got
moved out
more,
of California and I intend to, I'm trying to teach these rubes the proper way. And somebody said, why don't you just pack your shit and head back, asshole?
What a Karen person to want to go into
No,
someone
Kunk was
else's
right. You were
home.
absolutely right.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get us in trouble
past
with
the point of
Susan.
trouble.
But
No, you're absolutely right.
how lovely! Just come and tell us how to live, so we can do better. And
The interesting
Maybe-
thing, though, is getting back to what Harry was talking about, is that this technology could provide a lot of housing, evidently in a pretty short order. Is that right, Harry?
That's the general idea. I mean, not only does it provide a lot of housing, but it has the potential to do it in a way that the sort of greenhouse gas impact is a lot less, because manufacturing cement takes a ridiculous amount of energy. And if you can play with this mixture and not have to use as much cement, you end up with a net carbon neutral house a lot faster with something like this. I'm just saying, if that's your goal,
No,
which
you're
people
right.
are saying it is, then this makes a lot of sense, because I'm just trying to look at what are the things pushing this versus the thing moving away.
Do you
First
know
of all,
what-
people who have to buy them, right? If people
Yeah.
don't want to live in a house, then and it's all academic.
That's the other thing is I just wonder what the demand would be like.
Yeah, how much did you say they cost?
Well, to produce, I saw one saying, and I think it was one like the small one that they said that one cost to produce was less than $11,000.
It's significantly
Wow.
cheaper than traditional framing.
Yeah.
You save a ton. Yes, the robot's expensive, but you save a ton on the labor, and you save quite a bit in terms of the building materials.
What's the time on from permitting to completed project? Do they have any
Well,
estimations?
It would definitely be faster, but of course, you still have to lay a foundation to put on top of this thing. So
Right.
that's where all your pipes and electrical conduits and all of that stuff is already in the floor. And anybody who knows about architecture knows that in a commercial building, that's fine. In a place that people live, you don't want to go full Eichler, because it's like, oh, look at it's the house of the future. The heating is in the cement floor. California living until the stuff rots out and
Right.
your heating goes to shit and your cement starts to fall apart.
Right.
Some ideas sound better than others, but I think that something like this would work really well in a lot of climates. They say that from an energy perspective, it also has a lot of thermal mass. So you don't really have to spend nearly as much on heating and cooling, because it just smooths out those temperature fluctuations.
So it's kind of
Quite
like
nicely.
self-insulated.
Yeah, well, it's just a big heat sink / radiator. So
Right, yeah,
the
that's what I'm
nighttime
gonna
and
say. It's
daytime
like a heat
temperatures
sink,
just
yeah.
kind of smudge together.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
And of course, in the gap space in between these, you can actually put insulation and things like that. I would think the soundproofing would be exceptional.
Oh yeah, are you kidding? There'd be no vibration in those walls, and that's the key to soundproofing, is stopping the vibration that hits it from the external source. It might make it a little bit like being in a tile bathroom on the inside, because it's going to have a lot of hard surfaces, but you can compensate for that hanging tapestries and
Well, you can
Or-
put
or
drywall
put up
up.
wall-
There's
put up
nothing
drywall.
stopping you from
you
putting
can put up
traditional
drywall. That's a good
up.
point too.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Because the ones I've seen all have traditional drywall in them.
Yeah, and it also looks like, because they just print this out, then they would merely print your joists. You're just going to print the equivalent of 2x4s on which to hang the wallboard. So if you were in a more extreme climate, you could insulate there.
What is the stuff that they're making this out of? What is the stuff what is that slurry that's solidifying?
I believe this is something that's mostly concrete, but they are looking at, like I said, cob is like an earth mixture.
So it's like
So
cement.
they're looking at using recycled bio waste and all sorts of other stuff in the slurry
Yum.
Because
to
there's
minimize the amount of cement. But stuff like that, when it hardens, is actually quite good.
Well, there's a reason that I asked the question, and that is that I live in the cement capital of the United States. Midlothian, Texas, styles itself the cement capital of Texas and the United States. And we have cement plants all through town. We have trains that come through the middle of town to offload gravel and take on loads of cement chunks that they form out here at the cement plants. We have giant cement plants. They look like the biggest buildings you've ever seen. The building whose stacks are 700-800 feet in the air. It's just ridiculous. They actually look like War of the Worlds monsters.
Well, speaking of War of the Worlds monsters, one of the things people are talking about with this would be for things like Mars. If you actually did want to make a Mars colony,
Oh yeah,
rather than trying to ship a bunch of stuff there, you basically take robots like this, send them
Sure.
there, look
Sure.
at what you can do with the native materials that are there, and
Absolutely.
then start 3D printing your Mars colony.
have your perchlorate mansion. You know,
Yeah.
marvelous. It just who the hell wants to live on Mars? You know,
Red. I'll paint the ceiling red.
Yeah, that's what.
Mars
You know,
ain't the kind of place to raise your kids.
yeah, that was it. Yeah,
Yeah.
haha. But the I was surprised. Speaking of that, I was surprised to see how blue the sky was. Of that Mars had that blue a sky. I thought it would be hazier.
That's because it's all fake.
Yeah, that's right. That's all shot in South Dakota. You know.
Yeah, somebody just
okay.
forgot to put the filter on the camera.
Yeah. That's
It's
what
all
happens when
basically
you have
like-
top people working on it.
Well, speaking of top people, they just borrow the cinematography people from Top Gear because they have an amazing. I don't know if you ever watched Top Gear, but
I
the set
did.
of filters
I watched
that
Top
they
Gear.
had was pretty amazing.
Yes, they did.
You know, Clarkson would come out, and start talking about whatever in his deep voice, and then the BBC guys would get out their set of filters, and it's like the sky is pink, and it's like, that's cool.
Yeah. So
Good times. Anyway, I thought this might amuse you.
I
wasn't really
I'm
sure whose
absolutely
show to bring it
fascinated.
up on, because I could easily see bringing this up with Sanguine, but he's more about the 3D printed body parts. So I'm glad I brought this up here today.
No, I thank you for doing that.
Okay.
It's an interesting thing to speculate about, and we're at one of those pauses in history where we're between the exploration of the moon and what seems to be inevitably the exploration of Mars. Speaking of which, I'd just be curious to hear people's opinion about this. Does anybody else think that we're going to send a tube of people to Mars to die? Because I'm just afraid that, that's pretty much, this is a lot more risky than going to the moon. And we have better stuff than what we had, but is it better enough stuff, or are we going to waste a bunch of people? Is it going to be like pancakes? You know how you don't get the griddle the right heat at first, so you have to throw the first pancakes out? Is it going to be like making pancakes? We're going to throw the first couple of batches of explorers away till we get the griddle right. So I'm afraid that is what's going to happen.
I think we'll do it in increments, unless somebody just goes completely nuts and goes, well, we're going to show those dumb Americans what a little chutzpah can do.
We've got a
it'll be
big
fine.
enough rocket to get out there.
Yeah, it'll be fine. We'll stock it up with bottled water.
Yeah, point it over yonder. That's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, getting people to Mars, probably not that hard. Getting them back, slightly more difficult.
What are you going to use for shielding? What are you going to use for shielding, and what are you going to use for gravity?
Are you talking about on the voyage?
On the voyage. Yeah.
Well, gravity, things have to spin. Shielding, there would be a chamber where that would probably have walls of water, and you
That's
use
what
the
I'm
water
thinking,
that you're
water.
carrying as a moderator to protect the people during solar storms.
I have not seen the physics of that worked out. I wonder how much water you would have to weather the what you may expect in terms of solar storms.
It's less than you think. I've seen the numbers worked out, and it's not nearly as dramatic as it could be.
So it seems to be doable.
Yeah, from that perspective, it seems to be doable.
I mean, that's also a lot of mass.
Well, it's less mass than lead, which is why water,
Yeah, that's true.
water is a better
well
choice.
said. It's less mass than plutonium. You're right. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But that's wow, interesting idea. Okay, so you get that solved, and I guess you do centrifugal or centripetal acceleration, if you will. I guess people are using. I guess centrifugal has been rehabilitated now, so we can start using it. They used to slap our hands if we said centrifugal when I was taking
Yes.
physics. But at any rate, are they going to use that funny angular momentum-y thing
I
don't
kind
know
of a
if
force.
they don't necessarily need gravity. The only reason you need gravity is typically just to keep people's bones from getting screwed up. And if you just have something that creates resistance, where essentially you have a weight-bearing exercise, whether it's via a spring or a piston or whatever, you can do a lot of what you need to do with that.
They
Now, of course,
do,
there's
but they
still
do that
some
on the
amount of
I.
bone loss.
Yeah, they do that on the ISS, and still they come back pretty puny.
Yeah, they come back pretty puny, and going to Mars isn't going to help. It's not like you're going to get a real good workout on Mars. By the time
Well, it's
you come
also
back,
18 months, not 6.
they're going to pour you into a rascal scooter by the time you get back to Earth, assuming
Yeah.
you make it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, jeez. I think you have to have some sort of simulated gravity, and that really drives some interesting aspects of your space travel.
Well, there's a lot of energy there.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, it's not like you have aerodynamic drag, but there's going to be drag from just the mechanics of something like that. So
yep.
it's not without its challenges.
Sending a giant gyroscope through space. It's an interesting
Yeah.
notion, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll send our top people.
Yeah. Well, you know how a
Get it?
gyroscope
Top people.
top people.
I already said
But
the
in-
list.
But you know you know how
Abby's
gyroscopes push against your finger. You know how, and you could just use the gyroscope as propulsion, and so the gyroscope would move. You know, because it would push against space like it pushes against your finger, and that it could push itself through space that way.
Mhm.
Same thing.
Yeah,
I got the idea
That-
from AOC.
that's almost as good as why don't we leave a trail of breadcrumbs so we can find our way back.
Right. Exactly. I would call that the Thunberg drive.
She did not say that.
No, she's not. She's not bright enough to even
To even make that joke.
to even.
She wouldn't even understand that joke,
Yeah,
actually.
she's not going
She-
to be able to run the numbers on that one.
Well, she'd understand the idea of a line involving bread, but that's about it.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's the.
At least they have bread.
I don't think she.
I hope it's stolen bread.
I don't think she could read
Before.
Ring World and grasp where the gravity comes from.
Good point. Larry Niven, yay. Being
Well,
represented here.
it's actually too bad that they can't. You know, if you think about the whole gravity thing, if you were going further, all you would need to do would be travel. Is basically have a motor that produces 1 g of acceleration. And if you could produce 1 g of acceleration and then basically negative 1 g, you just sort of go, oh, I'm going to go stand on the other side now. You'd get your simulated gravity that way.
You could. You could.
It's a big ask, though.
I
That's
was going
It
to
is.
him to go stand on the other side. It's like being on a catamaran. Excuse me while I
exactly.
shit.
Okay, everybody lean.
Yeah.
We're going to go around the buoy.
You know, that is true. There, for some reason, you reminded me that every once in a while you'll be kind of a little bit too loaded on a skydiving plane, and everybody will hunker down over the wing. It's everybody get over the wing. We're trying to get this beast off the ground, and I've done that on a number of occasions.
Yeah.
My cousin was on a flight one time that he said he actually asked the stewardess what's next, having us switch our wallets to another pocket because it was a small commuter jet, and how they had sold the seats and how people seated themselves. The pilot was like, all right, some of y'all are going to need to move to the other side of the plane.
Yep.
And he was like, will it help if I shift my wallet to another pocket? He said, because it's a little weird when it comes down to the flight crew not knowing to tell people, no. Come on, some of y'all have to sit over here.
Yeah.
It's like the awkward wedding where nobody on the groom side.
I've been to one of those actually, where
Yeah,
there literally was just nobody over there, and eventually, several of us from the bride side went over and sat on the groom side, me among them. Actually happened. Funny story.
Oh yeah, I've deliberately sat on the groom's side because of bride got to invite all their friends. You know.
Then
Yeah.
the groom could. I've gone to weddings where the groom side is huge. Huge. I'd like to say that I'm doing the finger thingy when I say huge that Trump does.
Huge.
And so, but the bride has invited 600 of her, anyone she's ever met throughout when she was in the nursery after being born
Yes.
until that day when she got coffee.
Yeah.
The barista needed to go.
Yeah,
But
hired a private detective to look up all the babies born in the hospital the same day she was, you know.
and then the groom has I'm sorry, excuse me, has his parents, maybe a couple of his siblings, but it really depends on if the bride finds a fourth cousin, 8-time removed uncle.
To wedge in there.
I don't like that about it. Okay, this is going to sound wrong, but there are a lot of things I don't like about women.
That's one of them. Weddings.
Well, just their lack of respect for.
No, some of Cree's and my mutual friends had said we're sitting on his side because groom's side never gets represented as well as the bride's side. It just always seems that way, you know, whether, you know, in particular, if you grow up somewhere else. You know, like Cree grew up in Northern Virginia. I didn't grow up here, but my parents did. So, you know, when it came to the invites and things that had to go out to family, friends, I was like, Mom, why don't you just put the dress on? You know, to a certain extent. You just smile and nod. I mean, Cree and I just went along with the dog and pony show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then we got out of there, got over to Jefferson, got in our suite. I threw my shoes across the room, and I was like, thank Christ I'm a civilian again. You know, because you just feel like you're in a military parade after a point.
Well, James and I got married in the temple, so we could only invite people that could get into the temple. That was easy.
Yeah, that's convenient.
We did have an after party.
Don't you have to be a Mormon to get into the
Yes.
temple?
Yes. But you know what, Skep?
What's that?
I would have invited you to the ring ceremony because you don't do rings in the temple.
Oh, well, thank you. I would have gone. It would have been wonderful. Anyway.
We actually really want to get, this is offhand, but Belize. We want to go to the temple in Belize.
There's a Mormon temple in Belize?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty impressive. There's a Mormon temple in Belize, and they're just now building the one in Richmond.
I know. Weird, huh? Well, there are more Mormons outside.
Cool.
What?
The one in Hawaii is pretty cool. The one on Oahu.
There are a lot of Mormons in Hawaii, actually. It's weird. I don't know why.
Well, the Mormon temple's sort of like in the jungle, as I recall. It was very
I've been
I didn't
to
go
it.
inside, but it was kind of cool in that it was just sort of in the middle of nature, as opposed to being in downtown Honolulu.
Well, so there are actually more Mormons outside of the United States than inside the United States. So usually temples go.
A lot of missionaries didn't come home. How the hell did that happen? Were they spreading more than the good word? I kid.
Yeah, and we were drugging their water. But I'm sorry I got off on it. You guys were talking about something else, and I went and made a tuna sandwich. Came back, and I'm glad we're sending Nancy from Bodunk.
I got a picture of the LDS
Stop
temple.
it, you jackass.
Yeah.
Hey, that's
Pointy.
Nine Ruins.
Yeah.
No, that's the LDS temple.
No, it's Nine Ruins.
No, it's not
Yeah.
tall enough to be an LTS.
In the old country.
Well, actually, so
It's not white enough
There's
either.
no sign that says surrender Dorothy.
What?
Oh god, it's a joke. I'll tell you after stream.
Um,
It's an old DC area joke about the Mormon temple up there.
So in Connecticut, there's what we call a. Oh, she gave cookies to the press.
Oh, that's right. I
Wasn't
wanted
that
to
nice of
mention.
her?
I wanted to mention that. If
I
when
bet
you're
they
done,
had
Jenna.
bone meal and bugs in them.
Just
I
let
just
me know
wanted
when
to
you're
say-
done.
In Connecticut, there's what we call a mini temple. It's all one floor, and it's just because I don't know why, but we went and my family that's not before the temple is dedicated. Anybody can go in and tour it, and we went on the little tour, and it was the cutest little mini temple I've ever seen, but it was a little weird. And when it's finished in Richmond before they dedicate it, Prospero, you really should take a tour just to see the weirdness.
It's still very much under construction here.
Well, I said,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't drive around that area of town very often, but I'll keep my eyes peeled.
Harry, what did you want to say?
Well,
cookie thing.
I stumbled across Dave Rubin talking about the cookies at the press conference, right? I guess Jen Psaki brought cookies for the people in the press conference. Now, and I
Edibles?
understand, and I understand that if Trump did this or Kaylee did this, people like, this is how little they spin some sort of bullshit narrative about the cookies, right?
Dave said, "Oh, they're trying to poison us."
They would have
That's where I saw
said
it,
a
too.
million things, all of them negative, because 89% or 87% of all the news coverage was negative about the Trump administration.
Yeah.
But in the big scheme of things, I don't think it makes us look good to sink to their level of just making up stupid narratives about something as simple as cookies. I think this is the dumbest thing ever, and I certainly don't think it was worth Dave Rubin taking time out of his day to talk about this like it's a big story. This is the ultimate nothing burger, and it makes us look bad to even stoop to this level. I understand it's fun to just make fun of these people because they're idiots, and there's plenty of opportunity to do that. But the cookies is the nothing burger of all nothing burgers.
Well, Dave
In my
kind of
opinion.
implied that when he talked about it, though.
It's
Look
dumb.
how
We shouldn't even
pathetic
be
we've-
talking about it. We shouldn't even be. This is just
Oh,
the
come on.
stupidest non-story ever.
She promised
about-
them snacks, and her mother-in-law made homemade chocolate chip cookies.
I would love a homemade chocolate chip cookie right now. And I would happily eat it. It's just a silly story. I think it makes us look bad to engage on this level with them over something so inane.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. If we're the ones who are complaining about the need to elevate the level of the discussion, and then we go after something like this on the cheap, the way that they do, the other side does all the time, it makes us look like we're just a different flavor of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
If Kaylee had brought little mini cupcakes or something, they probably said, "Oh, she probably they were made by one of her sorority sisters," or they would have made some stupid statement about it, and it would be equally dumb. And it was like when people were making fun of the hamburger thing for the athletes that showed up at the White House.
Right.
I don't even remember. And it was that whole conversation, but even dumber. This thing about the cookies. What's wrong with, because we talk about how we want there to be that sort of putting politics aside and actually being friendly. Stop rolling the cameras, and people want to have coffee and cookies or something and hang out and talk and turn the cameras off and go off record. That would be good. Do more of that. Start treating each other like human beings.
I don't have an
What a
issue
concept.
with cookies. I don't even
The
have an
cookies
issue
aren't
with
the
the fact
issue.
that her mother-in-law made them. My thing is that, well, first of all, they did it in a COVID-safe way. I don't know how you do that, but whatever.
Well, it
And
just means that people aren't piled up on top of each other in line. But honestly, the fact that they were homemade cookies, to my mind, it makes it even more legitimate versus just saying stopping off at the Kroger's or Publix or Safeway or whatever local market they have and getting that plastic see-through tin of cookies from the bakery with all the shit that they add to it so they don't go stale in 2 days. So they can
look
leave
here.
it. And homemade
Some of
cookies are
us-
always welcome as far as I'm concerned.
some of us have to do the things because you have 17 classes to cook for.
Well, you signed up for that. I'm just saying that store-bought cookies are usually not very good.
Oh, I agree. I love homemade. And I think it was very sweet of the mother-in-law to do that.
Exactly. So maybe we shouldn't be those people. And I know I'm not being any fun. I know it's fun just to dogpile on everything and talk about everything being stupid. But of all the terrible things I could criticize her for, I just can't find it in my heart to criticize her bringing in homemade cookies for the press corps.
I think the thing that they were all like, oh, a house, I promised you a snack. But if this had been turned, it would be Trump tries to kill press corps. And they don't write the truth about Biden. He said the N-word. He said fag and all this other stuff, but he's for the people.
Over his long life, I'm sure he said many things.
But no, he said it in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, he's also kind of sunsetting. So
there's that.
But
that's the least of our problems when it comes to slow Biden or sloppy Joe or whatever we're calling him today.
Slow Biden.
What do you
Slow
think
Biden.
of the fact that tomorrow is the joint address?
I
So you're
think
finally going to
Crowder's going to have
legalize marijuana? Oh,
Crowder is going to have a great time covering it. That's what I think is going to happen. And I have to go. So thanks for having me on.
well,
I will
it is
catch you after the show.
actually time for final words. So
Yeah.
thank you for being on, Harry, and go do your thing. Come back to the after show, bud.
Always fun.
All right, man. We'll see you later.
Bye.
And it is that time of the show when I send it around for one more time, and the circle is a little bit small. But Jenna, any final parting words of wisdom that you have for us this evening?
I no longer want my shoulder to be ripped off.
Good.
Progress, not perfection, as we say in the AA business. All right, Prospero.
One brief thing that Harry mentioned there at the end, after the thing about the cookies, is that the Republicans were having a planned retreat in Florida. The House Republicans were.
Mm-hmm.
And with 6 days' notice from the Biden administration about the joint address and the fact that it's invitation only, do not believe anyone who is saying that the Republicans are refusing to go. Most of them cannot go.
They weren't invited.
Wait,
It's not that they were not invited so much as it is COVID rules, which means you have to have half the normal complement in the chamber or whatever the rule is. And only the Senate is in session. The House is out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't think Nancy Pelosi knew that the House members for the Republicans were planning on having this scheduled retreat in Florida, you've got another thing coming. So for those people who are saying, I'm not going to be able to attend or whatever, it's not because they're being brats, even though that's how it's being reported in some quarters. It's that this was a very rushed affair, and there, all the rules and no guests and blah, 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 and yeah, blah, blah. And, of course, Dr. Lady Macbeth will be there, so she can push the control panels.
Kill me. Anyway.
I'm so glad I have somewhere to be tomorrow evening.
Yeah, I was just going to say that something else I won't be paying any attention to. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming out and being a part of this. Thank you, chat, for coming and listening to us for 2 hours. And thank you, panel, my dear friends who come spend a little bit of time with an old man who's very happy and blessed to be alive today, 17 years after he made a decision to do something different for a change and end up paying off. I wanted to close with some quotes about space travel, and I'll just let these stand on their own. One comes from William Burroughs, the author of The Naked Ape. He said that man is an artifact designed for space travel. He is not designed to remain in his present biologic state any more than a tadpole is designed to remain a tadpole. And Ray Bradbury was ever the optimist, and he said space travel is life enhancing, and anything that's life enhancing is worth doing. It makes you want to live forever. I just love the spirit behind that. Probably the most profound of the three was said by H.G. Wells, the author of The Time Machine and various other works. He talked about life forever dying to be born afresh, forever young and eager, will presently stand upon this earth as upon a footstool and stretch out its realm amidst the stars. And HG, I think you might be right. And so that's worth contemplating here on this evening. And thanks everybody for being a part of this for tonight. The zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.